And we are live. What's going on? This is Travis from Carter Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the Forex market. I hope everybody's doing very well on this Wednesday evening, the eve before being able to see what's going to happen with the GDP that's going to end up happening tomorrow. So, super excited to be able to talk to each and every one of y'all. Let's go ahead and not waste any time. Let's go ahead and go through the disclaimer. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education, and from the education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. I understand that trading involves risk, involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promised that you're going to end up making money. Does not mean that you're going to end up making money today. So as we go through and be able to place everything in, I'm going to show myself onto the screen. Hopefully, everybody's doing very well. You're a first time watcher. Thank you for being able to watch it. Thank you for being able to pop in. My name is Travis. I have been trading for the last 6 years. I'm going to say professionally because I've been trading money for the last 6 years and been very profitable. In some years, haven't been profitable. In some of the other years, obviously, there's a learning curve that everybody has to be able to go through and all the pain and struggle and everything else that goes along with it. But even with that being said, what we're going to do here in this session is that we're going to end up taking a look at some of the trades that we ended up taking earlier today, as well as some possible opportunities to be able to get into either right now or a little bit later on throughout today's overall trading period. Now, keep this in mind. We have GDP that's going to end up coming out, which is going to be a high impact news for the United States dollar. United States dollar has been overbought at this particular point since the beginning of the year, or really since March of, well, the market has been on a very big run since March of this early portion of the year. And currently, right now, now it's time to be able to see a little bit of a U-turn and a little bit of a retracement. We're going to end up seeing, talking about that, especially when it comes down to pairs like pound United States dollar, euro United States dollar, and US yen when it comes down to those pairs. So if you're interested in being able to talk about those Forex pairs or anything else like that, please make sure that you place them down inside of the chat box as we go through and take a look at some of those trading opportunities. Now, more importantly, we are a community of traders that loves to be able to talk and be able to share about wins, being able to go through everything else that happens when it comes down to trading. So if you have gotten into some trades, make sure that you end up talking about how well you end up doing, whether the green day or whether the red day. Today was a big green day for me, so I'm going to place in big green when it comes down to that. But for everyone that is watching through YouTube, everyone that's watching through TradingView, and obviously everyone that's a part of the Discord group, make sure that y'all end up tapping in and making sure that y'all end up saying, hey, Steve from SoCal, what's going on? Hope everything's going well. I'm going to say IQ, well, last name Joseph. What's going on? I hope everything's going well with you. Thanks for being able to pop in. I think this is maybe the first or the second time I've seen your name end up popping up in a live chat. It's always cool to be able to see new people. If there's a pair that you would like to be able to take a look at, let's make sure that we end up talking about that. And then after that, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. All right, so let's talk about what's happening with the economic calendar. And then after that, let's talk about the trades that we end up taking today. We had a very good day for its overall movement, especially based off of the stuff that we end up talking about this morning. So you end up paying attention to the morning session. Obviously, we end up going from there. Two Shot, what's going on? Big Green. Block, what's going on? Big Green. Crypto Whale, what's going on? Hope everything's going well with you. Thanks for being able to pop in. Always good being able to talk to new people and being able to tap in. Now, keep this in mind. For some reason, the live chat is still slow on TradingView. So I'm going to say this now. If you would like to be able to have your message be seen faster, you could be able to go through and be able to click on to this link right here. And then after that, just go straight to the live streaming questions, and I can be able to answer your questions very quickly because I can see it rapidly when it happens. So interested in being able to do that, that's how you can be able to do it and being able to go from there. But I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to jump right into what we have for as overall pairs and then kind of see what's going on from there. All right, so economic calendar. Bank of Canada ended up having their interest rate decision. They actually ended up going with a 3.75. So they did raise it up. But they only raised it up 50 basis points compared to the full 4% that was expected. They actually have that as a negative. I don't think that's necessarily a negative. When it comes down to that news, obviously we look at what happened with the Canadian dollar. We end up seeing that the market from a daily perspective. Let's see what happened from a 1 hour perspective. from a perspective of when the market actually ended up making that move, it actually ended up popping up to the upside. So it went well for the United States dollar, and then obviously people started selling it off. So that tells me that obviously the United States dollar is weak. We know that the United States dollar is weak. We're going to keep on seeing if we can be able to have more pairs take advantage of that overall movement to the downside. Okay, so that's one thing. Going into tomorrow, we're going to end up having monetary policy statement for the Eurozone. We're going to end up having GDP for the United States dollar. That's going to happen at 8:30, and then after that, we're going to end up having non-defense capital goods and a press conference from President Lagarde. That's going to end up speaking about that. And then the big one to me, I think the one that's going to end up changing, I think the one that's going to be the game changer to me is going to end up seeing what's going to happen with the Bank of Japan, because the Bank of Japan has not changed their interest rate from negative 0.1, and they're the only they're the only country in from what I've been seeing that has not changed their interest rates, and that's the reason why they fail so much. So if they do raise it up at some point or make it a zero or anything else like that, then we're probably going to see a big move to the downside. And we're already in this pair. We already end up talking about this one. I've been talking about this one for a while, being able to try to take advantage of it. And I think that we may end up seeing some type of activity to be able to make a move off of it. So there we go. Let's go ahead and get into the big three, and then after that, we'll go ahead and talk about everything else that goes along with that. Let's start off with oil because that's the first thing that ended up popping up on my screen. We end up taking a buy at 86 with a stop loss at 82.50. Take profit was at 88.50, and then after that, take profit 2 was at 94.50. If you end up taking that trade with me, type in me. Type in me inside of the chat box. I want to be able to see how many people actually end up taking that one. It's always cool to be able to know that people are making profit off of the trades that we end up talking about, because obviously we try our best to be able to make sure everything is going from there. What's going on? Answer this question. Rich, do you want me to call you Block or do you want me to call you Rich? Because you have two different. Obviously, you have two different ones. I know which one you are, but when I look at it from TradingView and I look at it from obviously the core, I got to figure out which one I'm going to end up calling. Which one do you want me to stick with? PY Works, what's going on? Hope everything's going well with you. Okay, there we go. I go Block. There we go. So even when I end up seeing you from this one, I'm not going to say Rich anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and go Block. All right, cool. So market ended up breaking up to the upside on oil. We end up expecting that because we end up having tight consolidation. The reason why I ended up saying that I thought that the move was going to end up happening was mainly because what was going to end up happening with interest rate decisions, and the Canadian dollar being able to have this movement from there. Now, because that actually ended up happening, we ended up having a strong breakout to the upside. Market ended up hitting 88.51, which was this consolidation resistance right here. They ended up happening in early portions of October. Now, we see that the market is starting to consolidate a little bit. If you have not got in off of this pair, the thing is, we've been seeing a lot of counter trend line breaks based off of movement. So market pushes up, market ends up having a retracement. Then after that, breaking up to the upside. Now, this is not necessarily the greatest type of retracement for a move, but I do see that we have a strong move that's actually happening right now. So it would not surprise me one bit if the market continues to start pushing from here because of two things. One, supply and demand. We're getting into the winter months. It's starting to get colder in certain areas. Because it is starting to get colder in certain areas, you will see that more people end up turning on and using that oil to be able to heat up the homes. And because of that, you'll probably end up seeing the market really start to push from there. Let's see. I'm probably going to mess up your name. I'm going to say me. Sorry if I butcher. I know I butcher names sometimes. But thanks for being able to pop in. Hopefully you end up having a great day when it came down to trading. If there's a pair that you'd like to be able to talk about, obviously we'll go through it. But we do have a strong counter trend line break at this particular point. If you are interested in possibly being able to make another move off of that, I'll probably put my stop loss right below the swing low of this overall movement, which was at 87.39, to be able to take a chance off of it. Obviously, the big push actually ended up breaking out from this move already. We had a breakout, but we have not had a true retest yet. So if you're going to do this is probably a 1%er. Obviously, inside of the consolidation, I ended up doing 5% because I felt like the move was going to end up being strong. But at this particular point, taking a look at it right now, because there has not been a retracement to the downside yet, I would kind of end up saying this is probably a 1%, especially if it's right there. Now, if it starts to retrace a little bit, then after that has a big push up to the upside, then after that you can raise your percentage up as the market is actually going. The D extension from this move is at 104, I believe. So 95, the reason why I mean 94.50, the reason why we said that was because that's the next portion of resistance when it comes down to consolidation that end up happening right up here in this area. So we'll be paying attention to that overall when it comes down to a move. Type in a wire, yes, if that makes sense. If you're interested in being able to pop in right now, it will only be a 1% trade. Obviously, hasn't been enough of a retracement, but if you are looking for a retracement, pay attention to what's happening off the 2 hour. 2 hours in the sell zone. So I'll wait for the market to be able to have a little bit of a retracement first before being able to pop up to the upside. Okay. Hopefully everybody's good with that when it comes down to that. Looks like 90. That's what you think it's going to end up going? Or you're saying 90 because you're talking about, because you think it's going to end up being these resistance levels right here. Yeah, that'll be the second portion of that consolidation that ended up happening from September 1st to, what was the last day of that consolidation? Last day of the consolidation ended up being on September 15th. So about 15 days of consolidation before it actually failed. Now it fell down, popped back up, and then fell down again. But obviously, that's the start of that consolidation when it comes down to that movement. All right. Getting off of oil, obviously we're bullish on that one. Let's go ahead and talk about the United States dollar index. Now, we end up talking about this one based off of a few things. And the reason why I felt like the market was going to end up falling was because we was in a transition trade area. You do not know what a transition trade area is, basically when the weekly and the daily are in the sell zone heavily, especially when the weekly is in the sell zone. We end up having this channel that the market end up pushing up. When I end up looking at this movement from a weekly standpoint, the market only retraced down to the 23.6 because it only retraced down to the 23.6 and did not go to the 38.2. That meant to me that it was based, that you'll probably end up seeing something called an 80-20 rule. An 80-20 rule means that as the market ends up breaking above the B, there's an 80% chance that the market will end up having hesitation and people will start to look at being able to sell right around the 127. There's a 20% chance that the market will blow through the 127 and discomplete up to the D extension. And typically that 80%, that 80-20 rule typically holds intact. And that's exactly what ended up happening. We see a lot of consolidation for a few days. Market tried to push up one time, went into consolidation for about, I think it was about 7 days, 13 days of overall movement. And then after that, finally broke to the downside. Now, our first move was to 13,300. That has already hit. So if you trade United States dollar index or DXY just by itself, the first take profit is done. Now the second take profit based off of this movement is going to end up being right around 1385. I'm going to say 1390 to be exact, because basically what that means is once the market breaks a support, it will end up falling down to another support and being able to push down to that point. I do think that that's going to end up eventually happening. Maybe the GDP news might end up being a catalyst of it, or it might end up being a catalyst of a slight push up to the upside first, faking everyone out, giving everybody a high price to be able to get into, and then after that being able to fall from there. But just like how you end up seeing it towards the upside in Pushtober, you're starting to see a lot more counter trend line breaks starting to happen when it comes down to this movement as well. So typing a while, yes, if that makes sense. You're already in a pair when it comes down to this trade. Currently, right now, I probably wouldn't get into it. I'll just wait to see how the market kind of reacts overall for us being able to make a movement before jumping in. Okay. Hopefully, everybody is good with that when it comes down to that movement. Okay. Hopefully, everybody's good with that when it comes down to that movement. Let's go ahead and take a look at gold. As we take a look at gold, gold finally ended up having a big push up after hitting support at 16.17. It didn't hit 16.15. I remember we took that trade, went down to 16.17, and then after that started to push back up. I have a larger consolidation block that is showing from basically 16.15 all the way up to 17.30. I have not taken another trade off of gold because of that, because market's in the middle of this consolidation. It doesn't really matter to me that the market is starting to make a push up to this area. I would be a little bit more on the cautious side when it comes down to being able to take this trade above 17.30. If that does happen, then I'd be interested in being able to make a move. Until that actually happens, I'm not interested in being able to do anything. Okay, so gold, not interested in being able to do anything. But we see that the market is going up. And remember, gold has a huge correlation with the Japanese yen and the Australian dollar. So it doesn't surprise me that the Australian dollar and Japanese yen are starting to be able to make some type of wave against the United States dollar index. Now, keep this in mind. As we go through this would be a great time for everybody to start placing in the pairs that they would like for me to be able to talk about. So while we're actually going through and taking a look at this and kind of getting every other chart set up, I want y'all to go ahead and start being able to place in the pairs that y'all would like for me to be able to take a look at, aside from the pairs that we typically take a look at. We look at Forex pairs. We take a look at what's happening with obviously we just did United States dollar index. We need to take a look at Bitcoin before we get off of Smart Trader. Let's take a look at Bitcoin real quick. See what's going on with that. Block, answer this question. Did you stay in on this move, or did you let your algos just kind of play itself out? Talked about two different areas for us being able to get in on this trade. I want to see what your thought process is, obviously. All right, so from a Steve, how's silver doing? Steve, how's silver doing? I need that update. We always get an update from you. I like to be able to know. Let's see. So Bitcoin, this was the thought process. Obviously, we're in a main consolidation channel that ended up happening. We looked at this portion right here, and I'm going to see if I can pull this front. I'm going to bring this forward. This was the first consolidation that we end up paying attention to as this market started to be able to move. We end up saying, okay, well, until the market broke above 19,650, then there really wasn't a trade to be able to take. But I end up seeing basically this triangle, and this triangle was showing up on Bitcoin. It was showing up on United States dollar, Euro United States dollar. It showed up on Pound United States dollar. It showed up on US yen, very tight, but it showed up on US yen. It showed up on Ethereum, and all of them were showing signs that the United States dollar was finally starting to get weak. So we ended up taking a trade at 19,230. I'm sorry, 19,340, I believe, with the expectation that the market was going to go up to 20,350. Market ended up pushing up to that movement, ended up basically tapping the top of that movement, which was basically the top of the resistance from this overall area, started to reject again, gave us another bull flag from here, and then after that broke out of this area. So remember, anytime that you have a breakout, you will typically have a retest. So we have the breakout, we have the retest that just happened right here, and the market is starting to show another flag as we're basically looking at this again. And these are simple plays. We know that the trend has been bullish. Because we know that the trend has been bullish, there's a better chance of the market basically being able to break out to the upside. If you have not gotten in on Bitcoin from an equity standpoint, or from a margin standpoint, look to see if this market can end up breaking above 20,880. And if it does safely, then after that, I'll look at being able to place my stop loss below that 20,354 area. And then after that, start looking at being able to go up to 22,000. The reason why I'm saying 22,000, and if we go back to the daily a little bit, 22,000 is the next area where you end up having, or 22,750 is the next area where you end up having a couple areas of resistance, which was right here, close to there, and there. So I do expect that the market is going to end up popping up to that area sometime in the near future. The question is, are we going to get a big enough rally based off of what possibly may happen with GDP that may end up pushing the market to that point? If it does, then obviously let's take advantage of it. If it doesn't, then obviously we just look at it and just kind of be a little bit more patient when it comes down to how the market kind of plays out. But I am bullish on what's happening with Bitcoin. Obviously, once again, we're in push-tober. I think that the market's going to end up pushing from there. Up for today, love on silver. You are saying that the U.S. dollar value is going down, help the value of BTC go up. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying because the United States dollar is extremely overbought at this particular point in the weekly and the daily, are in the sell zone. Two things happen off of it, and I kind of refer back to saying a transition trade. Um, from a short term standpoint, I'm talking about 7 to 11 days. Um, we should see that there's going to end up being some type of weakness because now we see that the market is starting to be able to move to the downside. So the first push of 7 to 11 days will end up being a strong push to the downside for United States dollar weakness, which means that every pair that the United States dollar has been killing over the course of the last 8 to 9 months, which was the pound, the eurozone, the Japanese yen, obviously what's happening with Bitcoin. All of these pairs are going to start to be able to retrace because all of them have hit weekly D extensions. So United States dollar, when it comes down to this overall movement, has completed moves, and because now they have completed moves and people have started being able to take profit from them, let's say if you're selling, then you have to be able to buy back to be able to make profit. So you're getting a lot of massive buys to be able to, or a lot of massive movement away from the United States dollar from because the market has finally ended up completing those positions. Now you're seeing that there's a little bit of breathing room and a little bit of retracements from that overall push up. All right. Joseph says, please, any signal for gold? We just talked about that. Nothing in particular that I would like in being able to get into. 1730 will be the area where I would like to be able to get back into for what's being able to buy us. But currently, right now, nothing at this point. Hopefully, that makes sense. Two shot. Hopefully, that makes sense. So this did Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and get into what's happening with the. Let's go ahead and see what's happening with US 30. So US 30, the last time we ended up taking a look at this pair, I ended up talking about two separate positions. And one, I felt like once the market ended up getting inside of this pocket right around the 31,920 area, I felt like it could be able to go up to 32,600 or 32,660. The market ended up having this consolidation, breaking out of 31,880, having that massive push up to the upside, in which my automation system caught the first portion of the move. That pending order that we talked about at 31,920 ended up picking up the second portion of that move. So I ended up getting some of this movement. I did not see the market U-turn, so I got about half of this movement for it, about 100 or so points when it came down to overall movement for that second trade that we ended up talking about, unfortunately. But the question is now, what is happening? And kind of going back to what I just said with Bitcoin and how we see a Bitcoin showing like flags and the market is basically pushing up. We're seeing the same thing off of US 30 that we're seeing counter trend line breaks. Market is pushing up, getting a retracement, big massive push from there. Retracement, counter trend line break, push up. Retracement, counter trend line break, push up. Retracement, counter trend line break, push up. We see another retracement and a counter trend line break with the market and the 1 hour being inside of the buy zone. And we're starting to see a little bit of movement, but I think that the market is slowing down because of high impact news that's going to happen tomorrow. So I am kind of worried about. I am not necessarily worried. I want to see how the market's going to end up reacting first off of this movement. It wouldn't surprise me, hypothetically, it wouldn't surprise me that if the market kind of breaks this down, falls back to this support, and then after that kind of push back up. But if we look at it from a bottom profile standpoint, what may end up happening more than anything else is it may end up falling back to the midpoint of that bottom profile, and then after that push back up to the upside from there. But what does that mean for right now? Don't do anything. There's no trade on US 30 at this particular point. I think gold will hit the 1692. Crypto Whale, you got a chart. You got a chart set up. If you have it, place it in there. But please, I need a currency pair to be able to trade today. Most of our moves are kind of in the middle of them. Let's take a look at US yen. I'll see what's happening with US yen. I kind of help you out with that one. Let me get through. Matter of fact, let me get through NAS 100 real quick, and we be done with indices. And then after that, we go into the pairs that are kind of humming a little bit when it comes down to that movement. Nas, I don't like what I see. I could already look at. Never mind. I don't even look at Nas. Let me take that off the screen. There's nothing to do off of that one. All right. So US yen. Okay, what is going on? Got a lot of stuff going on. Okay, exit off. Exit off. Okay, there we go. So US yen. We end up taking a trade on this one. Yeah, no. Oh well, shoot. Well, how about this? Let's see. I think gold will hit the 1692 on the chart. Crypto. Any crypto pair that you like in particular, that you like? Because obviously, if Bitcoin has already made its move and Ethereum has already made its move, then that means the altcoins are going to slowly come behind. So the question is, which altcoin has a better chance of being able to make a massive push? And if you have a chart that's set up, don't mind sharing it if you have it. And place it inside of the chat. We can be able to talk about it. Obviously, like I would like to be able to know because I like to be able to diversify what I'm doing with my cryptocurrency as well. So US yen, what ended up happening? We just break this one down real quick. Obviously, this is what we see. United States dollar was in the jeez, come on now. United States dollar was in the sell zone when it came down to the weekly and the daily. We can see that happening right there. Market ended up hitting the D extension at 142. When it hit a D extension at 142, from a daily perspective, we end up having that same movement, but kind of like what we end up seeing off of the United States dollar index. And I wish this thing would sit up there and actually show it. It's got to be on another chart. R1G Thunder, what's going on? Hope everything's going well with you. Um, da, 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 da. Okay, I know how to I know how to remember. Well, I remember it based off of what I ended up talking about it over the course of the last few days. So there was a 127 right around 148, 148.98. I do remember that. I do remember that number specifically. What ended up happening from there was that that was right around 127. The market ended up pushing up to 151. The I think Japan basically ended up starting to intervene when it came down to the market movement. The market fell down 600 points. We can see that based off of what's happening based off of the 2 hour. From there, market ended up pushing up again. On Sunday, there was more news that ended up coming out. The market started to be able to fall. That's when we ended up giving a signal right around 147, and then after that, 148.13. From there, market ended up having this consolidation and created this type of triangle right here of movement, just like what you end up seeing off of Bitcoin. Same thing that you see off of Euro United States and Pound United States and all these other pairs. Broke from that overall triangle, retested a little bit. That retest gave us a second chance to be able to get in based off of that counter trend line break right there. Our stop loss was above 150.20, and currently right now the market has done fell down to 146. Now we have two take profit positions. The first one was at 144.80, which was the natural support that was um, 144.80, which was basically that overall area right there. And also 141.70. The reason why 141.70 was that position was because it was the inner trend line of this overall movement from this counter trend line break, or from this overall trend line movement. So there goes your trend line right there. We go to a weekly standpoint. This proves how I guess it proves how much of a nerd I am when it comes down to charts. Okay. There goes your outer trend line. Here goes your inner trend line. Your innermost trend line was right here. That's when we end up having that break. Essentially, what I ended up saying, 141 was from the innermost trend line to the inner trend line. The market would have failed right here when it came down to that movement right there. So the question is there a way to be able to get in right now? The answer would be no. The reason why the answer would be no is because the buy zone, because we are in the buy zone based off of the 2 hour. I do expect that the market, at least overnight, will start to be able to have a little bit of a push up. But remember, right around 8:30, 8:30, 8:45-ish, please pay attention to how the market basically ends up making this first initial movement. There may end up being a movement to the upside to be able to play people and kind of get people to kind of jump and think that the market is going to go up before it actually ends up going to the downside, and then after that being able to go from there. If you can get that, take advantage of it. If you can get it, take advantage of it. Okay. Doge, crypto whale, what do you got? I think all altcoin dips, DYP with one of the biggest moves. So what is the stop loss for US yen? Now, the stop loss for US yen now at this particular point, if you would have got in earlier, it would have been 150.20, but it doesn't make any sense to be able to do it now at 150.20. When the market ends up giving you a counter trend line break, so when the market ends up pushing up and then after that giving you a U-turn, I would say place your stop loss above that U-turn by maybe 30 to 40 pips to be able to give it enough room to be able to actually move to the downside again. Obviously, we do not have a new fractal to be able to work off of this because we got a fractal low until we end up getting another higher low. Then there's no actual stop loss to place in there right now. If you were to get into the order right now and expect that the market's going to move to the downside, I think that you'll be wasting money. So I'm saying probably wait until this morning to see how the market will end up reacting before being able to jump into it. Okay. Crypto whale, what did he place? Crypto whale at Bitcoin, you know what? Okay. Let's see what he placed in on this one. This is actually as an idea. Nice. He basically ended up saying the same thing we did. Nice. Question is, okay, so you had 20,316. We had 20,351. Basically at the same point. Basically at the same point. Nice. It's always good that everybody ends up having some of the same confluence when it comes down to ideas. It makes it easier to be able to have strong conversations when people can have different strategies but still come up with almost the same thought process of where the market's going to go. Okay, so Euro, United States dollar, pound, United States dollar. I'm going to end off on these two today and kind of go from there. I'm going to start off with Euro, United States dollar. Euro, United States dollar end up hitting a de-extension based off of this consolidation and being able to break from right here already. Well, no, it didn't. Oh, okay. I remember this move. It hit this de-extension, broke up, gave us a slight consolidation. Gave us a slight retracement. Basically, once again, this would be an 80-20 rule. Market has pushed above the 127, but we're starting to see that it's starting to tail off a little bit. It would not surprise me if the market kind of falls down somewhere close to the B again before being able to push back up. But from a short-term standpoint, the subfield will end up being at 1.0144. Now, it's in a R3 position, meaning that there's probably going to end up being way more one-sided trading to the upside than it would be to the downside. So this slight retracement that does happen, keep in mind, it will probably end up being a counter trend line break to be able to get into and being able to make a move off of it. Okay, so especially right around the London session, see how the market kind of plays off before being able to have that big push. Because this push right here, I think probably happened right around 3. Guaranteed it probably happened right around 3. What happened right around 1 o'clock? Happened right around 1 o'clock this morning. Okay, so that makes sense. No move off of that one yet. Pound United States. Pound was making this move late. Why do I have that box? Why do I have that box? Keep current analysis, I guess. This is the one that uh, this will probably be the move that bothers me more than anything else. We talked about this one. We talked about this one a lot in last session. We talked about that one, and I said I was going to end up waking up to be able to make this movement, and I was hoping for the breakout happened. I was hoping for a little bit more of a retest, and the retest really didn't happen the way that I thought it would. All right, so just like what we end up seeing based off of all those other moves, there goes your triangle right there. Um, resistance, support, resistance, support, broke out. When you have a breakout, had a retest, and then after that, pushed again to the upside. So that's the first initial move. Market retraced all the way down to the 5-0, which means that the extension will end up being right around the 161.8. The 161.8 on this movement will end up being at 1.1839. Currently, right now, we're at 1.1628, which means that we got about a little less than um, got a little less than 200 points pips basically remaining. I would hope that the market would fall a little bit before this news comes out, and then after that, be able to pop back in. I'm hoping to be able to see that the United States has a little bit of good news that will make people try to say, okay, well, it's cool to be able to sell the United States dollar, and then after that, have so much of a drop to where once the market gets to a point to where you can feel comfortable in getting in, basically at a support on most of these levels, then after that, start firing as much as you possibly can to be able to get into these take profit locations. Um, I don't think that the United States dollar has enough catalysts of good information that will make the market be going back and be super strong for the United States dollar, especially with us hitting all-time highs on the Euro yen, U.S. yen on a few other pairs like that. There's not enough. I don't think there's not enough people that would be interested in being able to get into those diminishing returns to be able to jump into a pair like that. At least not yet. So going into tomorrow, there's really no trading opportunity right now at this specific point in time. Uh, let's see. I need short signals on daily basis. Can I join your premium? Absolutely. I'll send me over a private message, and I send you everything that you need to know for being able to do that. Euro United States dollar. What is the stop loss that someone can be able to use? Good question. Um, but currently, right now, there's not even a field to be able to work off of at this point. So there's no stop loss to be able to use at this particular point because the move is done. The move happened and finished at 1.0022. So when the market has a retracement again, and we have a new field that we can be able to work off of, then after that, I can be able to get at you when it comes down to that news. Let's talk about what we're in now, and kind of go from there. US 30, I'm in on a pair at 32.41. Take profit I have at 32.650, and a stop loss I have at 31.815. Currently, right now, the market is up about 6 points on this movement based off of a counter trend line break going back up to the upside. Been in this pair for a while, and I ended up taking a partial exit off of this one. Ended up making about 1,800, but I don't feel comfortable in being able to truly say, "Hey, everybody, jump into that one." That's why I didn't bring that one up. Uh, at least right now. U.S. yen, we are still in at 147.78 and 148.13 currently right now. Uh, let's go from a points perspective. I don't think people care about my profit. From a points perspective, up 210 pips or 175 pips between both of those, respectively, when it comes down to that. Uh, Oil, we're in on that one. got in at 86.20. I got in at 86.27. It didn't get me in at 86, so that sucks. Uh, Stop loss is 82.50. Take profit is 94.50. We took profit on one portion of the pair already. From a points perspective, up 26 points when it comes down to that movement overall. In NAS 100 on a buy, that's actually the only pair that's down at this point. Um, we'll see how that one kind of plays itself out when it comes down to that movement. But overall, like I said, keep your eyes out on certain pairs. Obviously, the market is probably going to consolidate going into this news cycle that may end up happening. Then after that, you can jump from there. How can I contact you? Matter of fact, I'll send you a message. I'll send you a message right after this. I'll send you a message right after this, and then after that, we'll go from there. Um, you like what I end up doing? And first off, I appreciate everyone that's being able to pop in. I really do. You like what we end up doing? Please make sure that you end up clicking on that boost button. Any boost that y'all end up placing in, obviously, really helps out what we try to do for being able to get everyone to be able to um, get more information and being able to prosper when it comes down to this movements, when it comes down to trading. Um, Obviously, we talked about our community Discord and being able to hop into that. If you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more about that, send me a message or just say, hey, you would like to be able to know something about it, and I'll send a private message over to you so you can be able to do that. Obviously, we have a free area and we have a premium area. Our premium area is where we end up placing in our signals and our expert advisors and everything else like that. Speaking of expert advisors, uh, went through and I'm actually finishing up on the I've already done finished up on the back testing, but was already placing in the licensing for what's happening with the FX Skywalker. Um, and I am super excited about the numbers when it comes down to that and being able to see how well this system has been moving when it comes down to just its overall push and everything else like that. So um, I think I shared most of that information when it came down to how well it's done. I think overall, since in a 6 month span, using the partial exit portion, the win rate is still right around that 92 to 93% area. Um, and from a full exit, it's been right around that 65% win rate when it comes down to that as well. So super excited about that. But like always, make sure that you end up planning your trade, and then after that, obviously trading your plan. When it comes down to everything that we end up doing, um, like always, it's always cool to be able to talk to everybody when it comes down to that movement. I see each and every one of y'all in the morning session. Obviously, the Thursday session will be the last session of this week. We end up going from there. Take it easy.